As the night settles in and the world around you begins to quiet, I invite you to unwind and join me on a journey to the ancient kingdom of Luminara. Imagine a place where the light of 1,000 stars dances upon golden spires and crystal clear streams. Tonight we'll follow young Prince Alden as he uncovers the mysteries hidden deep within his castle's forgotten ruins. Let the gentle rhythm of this tale guide you into a peaceful state, where the worries of the day fade away and your mind drifts softly into a realm of dreams. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and allow yourself to be carried away by the story. Chapter 1. The Crown's Awakening. In the ancient kingdom of Luminara, where the sun's rays once danced upon golden spires and crystal-clear streams, a creeping darkness began to weave its way through the land. Yet, amidst this growing gloom, young Prince Alden's curiosity led him to a hidden chamber deep within the castle's forgotten ruins. The old castle had always been a place of wonder and mystery for Alden. Its weathered stones whispered secrets of the past, tales of valor and echoes of long-forgotten magic. Today, the prince ventured deeper than ever before, driven by a restless spirit and an inexplicable pull toward the castle's heart. With a torch in hand, Alden descended a narrow staircase that spiraled into the earth. The air grew cooler, the shadows deeper. His steps echoed in the silence until he reached a grand, iron-bound door. Intricate carvings of celestial bodies and ancient runes adorned its surface, shimmering faintly in the torchlight. With a deep breath, Alden pushed open the heavy door. It creaked in protest, revealing a vast chamber bathed in an ethereal glow. The light seemed to emanate from a single object at the room's center. A crown, ancient and majestic, resting upon a pedestal of polished marble. The crown was unlike any Alden had ever seen. Crafted from a metal that seemed to shimmer with the light of 1,000 stars, it was adorned with gems that sparkled like the morning dew. The aura of magic was palpable, a soft hum that resonated in the air. As Alden approached, his heart pounded with anticipation. He reached out tentatively, his fingers grazing the cool metal. At his touch, the crown pulsed with light, a radiant glow that filled the chamber and chased away the shadows. "Who are you, and why have you come?" A voice echoed softly, startling Alden. He spun around, his torchlight falling upon an old man cloaked in robes of midnight blue. His eyes twinkled with wisdom and mischief. "I am Prince Alden of Luminara," Alden replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "I found this chamber and this crown. What is this place? And who are you?" The old man stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the crown. "I am Eldrick, keeper of the ancient lore. This chamber has been sealed for centuries, hidden from those unworthy. You, young prince, have been chosen by the crown itself." "Chosen?" Alden echoed, bewildered. Chosen for what? Eldrick smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes. The crown you see before you is no ordinary relic. It is the crown of eternal light, forged by an ancient sorcerer to protect our kingdom from a great darkness. Its power to control light is unparalleled, but with great power comes great responsibility. Alden felt a shiver run down his spine. What does it mean for me? Why now? Luminara stands at the brink of an age-old prophecy, Eldrick explained. The darkness you feel encroaching is not mere shadow. It is a curse, cast by a malevolent force that seeks to plunge our world into eternal night. The crown has awakened because it senses the rising threat. It has chosen you to wield its power and save our kingdom. The weight of Eldrick's words settled heavily on Alden's shoulders. He looked at the crown, its light now a beacon of hope and burden. I will do whatever it takes to protect Luminara, he vowed, his voice firm with resolve. Eldrick nodded approvingly. Then prepare yourself, Prince Alden. Your journey is just beginning. The path ahead is fraught with danger and sacrifice. But remember this: the light will guide you as long as you remain true to your heart. With the crown's destiny now entwined with his own, Alden took a deep breath and prepared to face the shadows that threatened his beloved kingdom. The ancient chamber, once a silent guardian of secrets, now echoed with the promise of light and the courage of a young prince ready to embrace his fate. As Alden emerged from the ancient chamber, the crown safely tucked away in his satchel, a chill wind swept through the castle grounds. The once vibrant kingdom of Luminara, known for its eternal sunshine and shimmering rivers, was now shrouded in an ominous twilight. Dark clouds gathered above, casting long, creeping shadows over the land. Alden hurried through the cobblestone streets of the capital, his mind racing with Eldrick's words. The townsfolk, usually bustling with the joys of daily life, now moved with a sense of dread. Fearful whispers filled the air, tales of the growing darkness and strange occurrences spreading like wildfire. He reached the royal palace, its grandeur dimmed by the encroaching gloom. Inside, the great hall was abuzz with frantic discussions. Nobles and advisors surrounded King Theron, Alden's father, their faces etched with worry. Alden approached the throne, where his father sat with a furrowed brow and heavy heart. "Father!" Alden called out, drawing the attention of the assembly. "I've discovered something that may save our kingdom." King Theron looked up, his eyes weary but hopeful. "What is it, my son?" Alden recounted his journey into the hidden chamber and the discovery of the crown of eternal light. He spoke of Eldrick's revelations and the prophecy that foretold the kingdom's peril. The hall fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. "The crown holds the power to control light," Alden concluded, "but it demands a great sacrifice to wield its full potential. We must understand how to use it to lift the curse and restore Luminara to its former glory. An advisor, Sir Baldwin, stepped forward. But how do we know this crown is the answer? Many artifacts have been lost to legend, their true powers forgotten or exaggerated. Eldrick, who had accompanied Alden, raised his hand. I can attest to the crown's authenticity and its power. The darkness we face is no ordinary curse. It is the work of Morgoth, the shadowy emissary of an ancient evil. His master seeks to shroud our world in eternal night. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the hall. Alden felt the enormity of the task ahead pressing upon him. We have no time to waste, he said resolutely. The darkness spreads each day. We must act swiftly and decisively. King Theron stood, his regal presence commanding attention. Then it is decided. Alden, you shall lead a quest to uncover the secrets of the crown and confront Morgoth. Our kingdom's fate rests in your hands. As preparations began, Alden felt a mixture of fear and determination. The palace buzzed with activity as provisions were gathered, maps studied, and companions selected. Among those chosen to accompany him was Sir Baldwin, a seasoned knight, Lyra, a skilled archer with eyes like a hawk, and Finian, a clever and resourceful mage. The night before their departure, Alden stood on the palace balcony, gazing out at the shadowed landscape. The moon hung low, veiled by clouds, casting a faint glow over the kingdom. He clutched the crown, feeling its warmth seep into his skin, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. Lyra joined him, her expression somber but determined. Do you truly believe we can lift this curse, Alden? He nodded, meeting her gaze. We must. For the sake of Luminara and everyone we hold dear, we cannot let the darkness prevail. With dawn's first light, the group set forth, their journey beginning amidst the somber silence of a kingdom in despair. As they travelled through the shadowed forests and across dimly lit plains, the crown's light guided them, a constant reminder of their mission and the hope they carried. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with dangers and unknown trials. But Alden's resolve burned brighter than ever. The crown of eternal light was the key to salvation, and he would stop at nothing to restore the brilliance of his beloved kingdom. The journey was arduous, and as days turned into weeks, the group pressed on, the weight of their mission ever present. The landscape grew increasingly hostile, the darkness more oppressive. Despite the challenges, Alden's determination remained unshaken, fueled by the hope of restoring light to Luminara. One evening, as the group made camp by a shimmering stream, one of the few remaining sources of light in the land, Eldrick gathered them around the fire. The old sage's eyes gleamed with ancient knowledge as he prepared to reveal the full legend of the crown of eternal light. This crown, Eldrick began, holding it up so that the firelight danced upon its surface, was forged eons ago by the great sorcerer Loomis. He was a guardian of light, chosen by the celestial beings to protect our world from the forces of darkness. Alden and his companions listened intently, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. Eldrick continued, his voice weaving a tapestry of history and magic. Loomis crafted the crown using the light of the stars themselves, embedding it with gems that held the essence of dawn, noon, and twilight. It was said that as long as the crown remained in the hands of the worthy, Luminara would bask in eternal light, free from the shadow's grasp. Finian, the mage, leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. What happened to Loomis? Why did the crown disappear? Eldrick's expression grew somber. Loomis faced a formidable foe, an entity of pure darkness known as Noctis. The townsfolk, usually bustling with the joys of daily life, now moved with a sense of dread. Fearful whispers filled the air, tales of the growing darkness and strange occurrences spreading like wildfire. He reached the royal palace, its grandeur dimmed by the encroaching gloom. Inside, the great hall was abuzz with frantic discussions. Nobles and advisors surrounded King Theron, Alden's father, their faces etched with worry. Alden approached the throne, where his father sat with a furrowed brow and heavy heart. "Father!" Alden called out, drawing the attention of the assembly. "I've discovered something that may save our kingdom." King Theron looked up, his eyes weary but hopeful. "What is it, my son?" Alden recounted his journey into the hidden chamber and the discovery of the crown of eternal light. He spoke of Eldrick's revelations and the prophecy that foretold the kingdom's peril. The hall fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. "The crown holds the power to control light," Alden concluded, "but it demands a great sacrifice to wield its full potential. We must understand how to use it to lift the curse and restore Luminara to its former glory." An advisor, Sir Baldwin, stepped forward. "But how do we know this crown is the answer? Many artifacts have been lost to legend, their true powers forgotten or exaggerated." Eldrick, who had accompanied Alden, raised his hand. "I can attest to the crown's authenticity and its power. The darkness we face is no ordinary curse. It is the work of Morgath, the shadowy emissary of an ancient evil. His master seeks to shroud our world in eternal night." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the hall. Alden felt the enormity of the task ahead pressing upon him. "We have no time to waste," he said resolutely. "The darkness spreads each day. We must act swiftly and decisively." King Theron stood, his regal presence commanding attention. "Then it is decided. Alden, you shall lead a quest to uncover the secrets of the crown and confront Morgoth. Our kingdom's fate rests in your hands." As preparations began, Alden felt a mixture of fear and determination. The palace buzzed with activity as provisions were gathered, maps studied, and companions selected. Among those chosen to accompany him was Sir Baldwin, a seasoned knight. Lyra, a skilled archer with eyes like a hawk, and Finian, a clever and resourceful mage. The night before their departure, Alden stood on the palace balcony, gazing out at the shadowed landscape. The moon hung low, veiled by clouds, casting a faint glow over the kingdom. He clutched the crown, feeling its warmth seep into his skin, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. Lyra joined him, her expression somber but determined. "Do you truly believe we can lift this curse, Alden?" He nodded, meeting her gaze. "We must, for the sake of Luminara and everyone we hold dear. We cannot let the darkness prevail." With dawn's first light, the group set forth, their journey beginning amidst the somber silence of a kingdom in despair. As they travelled through the shadowed forests and across dimly lit plains, the crown's light guided them, a constant reminder of their mission and the hope they carried. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with dangers and unknown trials. But Alden's resolve burned brighter than ever. The crown of eternal light was the key to salvation, and he would stop at nothing to restore the brilliance of his beloved kingdom. The journey was arduous, and as days turned into weeks, the group pressed on, the weight of their mission ever present. The landscape grew increasingly hostile, the darkness more oppressive. Despite the challenges, Alden's determination remained unshaken, fueled by the hope of restoring light to Luminara. One evening, as the group made camp by a shimmering stream, one of the few remaining sources of light in the land, Eldrick gathered them around the fire. The old sage's eyes gleamed with ancient knowledge as he prepared to reveal the full legend of the crown of eternal light. "This crown," Eldrick began, holding it up so that the firelight danced upon its surface, "was forged eons ago by the great sorcerer Loomis. He was a guardian of light, chosen by the celestial beings to protect our world from the forces of darkness." Alden and his companions listened intently, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. Eldrick continued, his voice weaving a tapestry of history and magic. Loomis crafted the crown using the light of the stars themselves, embedding it with gems that held the essence of dawn, noon, and twilight. It was said that as long as the crown remained in the hands of the worthy, Luminara would bask in eternal light, free from the shadow's grasp. Finian, the mage, leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. What happened to Loomis? Why did the crown disappear? Eldrick's expression grew somber. Loomis faced a formidable foe, an entity of pure darkness known as Noctis. Their battle shook the very foundations of our world. In a final act of sacrifice, Loomis used the crown to imprison Noctis within a shadow realm. But in doing so, he himself was consumed by the darkness. The crown, now without its guardian, was hidden away to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. Lyra's eyes widened with realization. And now, Morgoth seeks to free Noctis and plunge our world into eternal night. Eldric nodded gravely. Indeed, Morgoth is but a pawn in a much larger game. His master, Noctis, waits patiently for the moment when the crown will be used to shatter his prison, allowing him to return and spread his dark influence. Alden felt a shiver run down his spine. The stakes were higher than he had imagined. The crown's power was both their greatest weapon and the key to their enemy's return. He clenched his fists, determination hardening his resolve. We cannot allow that to happen. We must find a way to use the crown's power without unleashing Noctis. Eldric placed a reassuring hand on Alden's shoulder. You are right, my prince. The crown's power is great, but it must be wielded with wisdom and courage. We must seek out the ancient texts of Loomis, which may hold the knowledge we need. Sir Baldwin, ever the practical knight, spoke up. Where do we find these texts, Eldric? Time is not on our side. The texts are said to be hidden in the Temple of Radiance, located deep within the sunlit mountains. Eldric replied, It is a treacherous journey, but it is our best hope. The group exchanged determined glances, their course now clear. They would venture to the sunlit mountains, face whatever trials awaited them, and uncover the secrets of Loomis's legacy. As the fire burned low and the stars twinkled above, Alden felt a renewed sense of purpose. The legend of the crown of eternal light was now intertwined with his own destiny. He would honor Loomis's sacrifice, protect the crown from falling into darkness, and restore light to his kingdom. With the path ahead illuminated by the fire's glow and the promise of dawn, Alden and his companions prepared for the challenges to come. The legend was clear, their mission was set, and the hope of Luminara rested upon their shoulders as they embarked on the next phase of their quest. The journey to the sunlit mountains was arduous, fraught with dangers that tested the resolve of Alden and his companions. The once familiar landscape of Luminara grew more treacherous as they approached the ancient temple, with steep cliffs and dense forests obscured by the encroaching darkness. One evening, as they camped near a rocky outcrop, Alden decided it was time to understand the crown's power better. Sitting around the campfire, he carefully removed the crown from his satchel. The gems embedded in the crown glowed faintly, casting a soft light that seemed to push back the surrounding shadows. We need to learn how to wield its power, Alden said, his voice determined. Eldric, you mentioned the crown demands a great sacrifice. What do you mean by that? Eldric, his face illuminated by the crown's glow, nodded solemnly. The crown of eternal light draws its power from the purity of heart and the strength of the bearer's spirit. To wield it fully, one must be willing to sacrifice something precious, a part of themselves that holds great value. Finian, ever the inquisitive mage, leaned forward. What kind of sacrifice are we talking about? Physical, emotional, or something else entirely? The nature of the sacrifice varies, Eldrick explained. For some, it could be a cherished memory, a piece of their soul, or even their life's ambition. The crown tests the bearer's worthiness and commitment to the greater good. Alden gazed at the crown, feeling the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. "I am willing to do whatever it takes to save our kingdom," he said quietly, his resolve unwavering. With that, he placed the crown upon his head. Immediately, a surge of energy coursed through him, filling him with a warmth that radiated from his core. The gems on the crown blazed with light, illuminating the entire campsite. Alden felt an overwhelming sense of clarity and purpose, but also a deep sadness, as if the crown were drawing upon his most cherished memories. Visions flashed before his eyes, moments from his childhood, his mother's gentle smile, his father's proud gaze, and the carefree days spent exploring Luminara. He realized that the crown was tapping into his emotional core, testing his willingness to sacrifice these precious memories for the greater good. As the light intensified, Alden felt a connection to the very essence of light itself. He raised his hand, and a beam of pure, radiant light shot forth, cutting through the darkness and illuminating the surrounding forest. The shadows recoiled, hissing as they retreated from the light's touch. His companions watched in awe as Alden demonstrated the crown's power. Lyra, her bow at the ready, marveled at the display. "Incredible," she whispered. "With this power, we might just have a chance." But the strain was evident on Alden's face. The crown's power came at a cost, draining his strength with each use. He removed the crown, breathing heavily, and the light dimmed, leaving only the gentle glow of the campfire. Eldrick approached, placing a hand on Alden's shoulder. "You have proven your worth, Prince Alden. The crown responds to your purity of heart and your willingness to sacrifice for your people. But remember, its power is not to be used lightly. Each use will demand more from you." Alden nodded, feeling the weight of Eldrick's words. "I understand. We must use it wisely and sparingly. Our journey to the Temple of Radiance will reveal more about its secrets and how to harness its power without succumbing to its demands." As the night wore on, the group huddled around the fire, discussing their next steps. The journey was far from over, and the challenges ahead were daunting. But with the crown of eternal light and their unwavering determination, they knew they had a fighting chance. Alden looked at his companions, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames. They were his strength, his support, and together they would face whatever darkness lay ahead. The power of the crown was within his grasp, and with it, the hope of restoring light to Luminara. The journey to the sunlit mountains was filled with trials that tested both the spirit and strength of Prince Alden and his companions. Each day brought new challenges, from treacherous terrain to lurking creatures born from the encroaching darkness. Yet they pressed on, driven by the hope of saving Luminara. As they neared the sunlit mountains, the air grew colder and the darkness seemed to thicken. One evening, as the group set up camp in a sheltered glade, a sudden chill descended upon them. The fire flickered and dimmed, as if the darkness itself was trying to extinguish its light. Alden, feeling a sense of unease, stood watch while his companions rested. His hand instinctively moved to the crown, which now hung from his belt. The crown's gems pulsed faintly, a reminder of the power he carried. The silence of the night was broken by a low, sinister laugh that echoed through the glade. "Prince Alden!" a voice called out from the shadows, smooth and mocking. "You carry a burden far too great for one so young." Alden drew his sword, the blade catching the faint light of the crown's glow. "Who's there? Show yourself!" From the darkness emerged a tall, cloaked figure. His eyes gleamed with an unnatural light, and his presence seemed to absorb the warmth from the air. "I am Morgoth, emissary of the Shadow Realm. I have come for the crown." Alden tightened his grip on his sword, his heart pounding. "You will not have it. This crown is the hope of our kingdom." Morgoth laughed again, a sound that sent shivers down Alden's spine. "Hope? How quaint! The crown's power is beyond your comprehension, and its true master awaits. Surrender it, and I may yet spare your life." Eldrick, awakened by the commotion, stepped forward. "The crown belongs to Luminara, Morgoth. We will not let it fall into your hands." Morgoth's eyes narrowed, and he raised a hand, summoning a dark mist that swirled around him. "So be it, old man. But know this, the darkness is inevitable. Your efforts are in vain." With a swift motion, Morgoth unleashed the dark mist towards Alden. Instinctively, Alden placed the crown on his head, its light flaring to life. The mist recoiled, hissing as it met the crown's radiant barrier. Alden focused, channeling the crown's power, and a beam of pure light shot forth, striking Morgoth and pushing him back. The shadowy emissary snarled, his form flickering as if he were made of the darkness itself. "You will regret this, Prince. The Master's power grows, and soon even your precious light will be consumed." With those ominous words, Morgoth vanished into the night, leaving only the echo of his laughter. The camp was silent once more, but the tension lingered. Alden removed the crown, his strength waning from the effort of wielding its power. Lyra and Finian, now fully awake, rushed to Alden's side. "Are you all right?" Lyra asked, concern etched on her face. Alden nodded, though he felt the weight of their encounter. "I'm fine. But Morgoth's words trouble me. The darkness is stronger than we realized." Eldrick placed a reassuring hand on Alden's shoulder. "You did well, Alden. The crown's light is powerful, but we must learn to harness it fully. The Temple of Radiance holds the answers we seek." With renewed determination, the group prepared to continue their journey. The encounter with Morgoth had shown them the true extent of their enemy's power, but it had also strengthened their resolve. They would not let the darkness claim their kingdom. As dawn broke, casting a pale light over the mountains, Alden and his companions set out once more. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but with the crown of eternal light and their unwavering courage, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay in their way. The Shadow's emissary had been a formidable foe, but he was only the beginning. The true battle lay ahead, and Alden knew that their quest was far from over. The light of Luminara's hope burned brightly within him, and he would see it through to the end. As the first light of dawn broke over the sunlit mountains, Alden and his companions resumed their journey with renewed determination. The encounter with Morgoth had revealed the true stakes of their quest, and the gravity of their mission weighed heavily on their hearts. The path to the Temple of Radiance was treacherous, but Alden's resolve burned brighter than ever. The group traversed narrow mountain passes and steep, rocky inclines, each step bringing them closer to their goal. The air grew thinner and the temperature dropped, but the sight of the sunlit peaks above filled them with hope. Alden led the way, the crown of eternal light tucked securely in his satchel, its presence a comforting warmth against the chill. At midday, they reached a plateau overlooking a vast, shimmering valley. In the center of the valley stood the Temple of Radiance, its golden spires reaching toward the heavens, glowing with an inner light that defied the surrounding darkness. The sight was breathtaking, a beacon of hope in a shadowed land. Eldrick gazed upon the temple with reverence. The Temple of Radiance, where Loomis's wisdom is said to be preserved. Within its walls, we will find the knowledge to harness the crown's power and defeat the darkness. Alden felt a surge of determination. Then we must not waste any time. Let's make our way down to the valley. As they descended into the valley, the group encountered a series of trials designed to test their unity and resolve. The path was guarded by enchanted barriers and riddles, remnants of Loomis's magic. Each challenge required the combined strength and intellect of Alden and his companions. At one point, they faced a chasm that seemed impossible to cross. Finian, the clever mage, used his knowledge of ancient spells to create a bridge of light. As they walked across, Lyra's keen eyes spotted hidden traps, which she deftly disarmed with her arrows. Sir Baldwin's strength was called upon to move boulders blocking their path, his resolve unwavering. Finally, they stood before the grand entrance of the temple. The massive doors, adorned with intricate carvings of celestial beings and radiant light, slowly creaked open as if recognizing the crown's presence. Inside, the temple was bathed in a soft golden glow, the walls lined with ancient texts and relics of a bygone era. Eldrick led them to a central chamber where a pedestal stood, a glowing orb resting upon it. "This is the orb of Loomis," Eldrick explained. "It contains the essence of the sorcerer's wisdom." Alden, place the crown upon the pedestal, and the orb will reveal its secrets. Alden carefully placed the crown of eternal light on the pedestal. The orb began to pulse with light, growing brighter until it filled the room with a radiant glow. Images and symbols danced within the light, and a voice echoed through the chamber, the voice of Loomis himself. "Welcome, chosen one. The power of the crown is great, but it is the heart of the bearer that determines its true strength. To defeat the darkness, you must understand the balance of light and shadow. The crown's full potential can only be unlocked through a sacrifice of the purest kind." The vision shifted, showing Alden a glimpse of his kingdom, bathed in light and life. But as the image faded, he saw the encroaching darkness threatening to consume it. He understood that the crown's power alone would not be enough. It required his unwavering commitment to his people and a sacrifice that only he could make. The orb's light dimmed, and Alden removed the crown from the pedestal. The weight of Loomis's words settled heavily upon him, but his resolve was unwavering. "I will do whatever it takes to save Luminara. I will make the necessary sacrifice." Eldrick placed a hand on Alden's shoulder, his eyes filled with pride and sadness. "Your heart is true, Alden. Remember, the light will guide you, even in the darkest of times." As they left the temple, the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the valley. Alden and his companions knew their journey was far from over, but they were armed with the knowledge they needed. The crown of eternal light was their beacon, and Alden's resolve was their strength. The battle against the darkness awaited, but with the crown's power and the strength of his companions, Alden was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The light of Luminara's hope burned brightly within him, and he would see it through to the end. Chapter 2. The Light's Triumph. With the knowledge of Loomis's wisdom, now a guiding light, Alden and his companions set out from the Temple of Radiance, their resolve strengthened and their purpose clear. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but the vision of Luminara bathed in eternal light kept their spirits high. As they traversed the rugged terrain, the air grew colder and the shadows lengthened. The sunlit mountains gave way to dark forests and desolate plains, lands that had once thrived under Luminara's sun, but were now withering under the curse of darkness. The journey was arduous, testing their endurance and unity at every turn. One evening, they reached a small village shrouded in twilight. The villagers, fearful and weary, barely ventured out of their homes. The sight of their prince and his companions, bearing the crown of eternal light, filled them with a glimmer of hope. A frail elder approached them, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and reverence. "Prince Alden, you carry the crown of legend. We had thought all hope lost. Can you truly lift this curse? Alden knelt beside her, his voice gentle yet firm. We will do everything in our power to restore the light to Luminara. The darkness will not prevail. The villagers offered what little they could spare, food, water, and shelter for the night. As they sat around a modest fire, Alden and his companions listened to tales of Morgath's minions spreading fear and chaos. The darkness seemed to grow stronger with each passing day, and Alden knew they had to act swiftly. The next morning, they bid farewell to the villagers and continued their journey. The path led them to a vast, barren wasteland known as the Shadowed Expanse. It was a land devoid of life, where the darkness was so thick it seemed to swallow the light. As they ventured deeper, a sense of foreboding settled over them. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and dark figures emerged from the shadows. These were Morgath's minions, creatures of darkness, their eyes glowing with malevolent light. Alden drew his sword, and his companions readied their weapons, forming a defensive circle around the crown. The creatures attacked with ferocity, their claws and teeth glinting in the dim light. Alden swung his sword, the blade slicing through the darkness. Lyra's arrows flew true, striking down the shadowy forms with deadly precision. Sir Baldwin's strength was unmatched, his shield and sword moving with practiced ease, while Finian's spells crackled with energy, repelling the attackers. Amid the chaos, Alden felt the crown's power calling to him. Placing it on his head, he channeled its light, a blinding radiance that cut through the darkness like a beacon. The creatures recoiled, hissing and retreating from the light's touch. With a final surge of energy, Alden released a wave of light that dissipated the remaining shadows, leaving only the scorched earth behind. Breathing heavily, Alden removed the crown, the strain evident on his face. "We must be cautious," he said, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. "The crown's power is immense, but it takes a toll. We cannot afford to use it recklessly." Eldrick nodded in agreement. "The true battle lies ahead. Morgath and his master will not be easily defeated. We must reach the heart of the Shadow Realm and confront them directly." With renewed determination, they pressed on, the journey growing more perilous with each step. The land around them seemed to wither under the weight of the curse, but the crown's light provided a glimmer of hope, a reminder of what they fought for. As they neared the entrance to the Shadow Realm, the air grew colder and the darkness more oppressive. But Alden's resolve burned brightly within him, a beacon of light against the encroaching night. With his companions by his side, he was ready to face the final trials and lift the curse that threatened to engulf his kingdom. The journey was far from over, but Alden knew that together they could overcome any obstacle. The light of Luminara's hope guided them, and with the crown of eternal light, they would triumph against the darkness. The battle ahead would be fierce, but Alden was prepared to sacrifice everything for his people and his kingdom. The entrance to the Shadow Realm loomed before Alden and his companions, an ominous archway carved into the side of a mountain. The air was thick with a palpable sense of dread, and the darkness beyond seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. Yet, with the crown of eternal light and their unwavering resolve, they pressed forward, stepping into the heart of their enemy's domain. The first trial came swiftly. As they ventured deeper, the path ahead was blocked by a massive chasm, too wide to jump and too deep to see the bottom. Across the gap, a narrow bridge made of light flickered into existence, appearing and disappearing in rhythm with Alden's heartbeat. "This must be one of Loomis's trials," Cedric murmured, his eyes scanning the ethereal bridge. "Only those with true courage and faith in the light can cross." Alden stepped forward, the crown's light casting a gentle glow around him. "I'll go first," he said, his voice steady. He placed the crown on his head, feeling its warmth bolster his confidence. As he stepped onto the bridge, the light beneath his feet solidified, supporting his weight. He moved slowly, each step taken with careful precision, trusting the light to guide him. Halfway across, the bridge flickered more violently, threatening to vanish beneath him. Alden closed his eyes, focusing on the crown's power and his unwavering commitment to his mission. The light stabilized, and he continued, reaching the other side safely. He turned back, his heart swelling with relief as he watched his companions follow his lead, each crossing the bridge with their own acts of courage and faith. The second trial awaited them in a dark forest where the trees whispered of ancient sorrows. As they ventured deeper, shadows danced around them, forming into ghostly apparitions of lost loved ones. The phantoms called out with familiar voices, pleading and accusing, their words designed to sap their strength and resolve. Lyra, her bow at the ready, hesitated as a figure resembling her long-lost brother emerged from the shadows. Tears filled her eyes, but she steeled herself, recognizing the illusion. "You are not real," she whispered, drawing an arrow and releasing it with unerring accuracy. The phantom dissipated, its cries fading into the wind. Alden faced his own trial as the figure of his mother appeared before him, her eyes filled with sorrow. "Alden, why did you leave us?" she asked, her voice a haunting echo of his deepest fears. He felt his resolve waver, but the crown's light pulsed reassuringly on his head. "I left to save our kingdom, Mother," he said, his voice breaking but determined. "I carry your love with me, and it gives me strength." The apparition faded, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. His companions, similarly tested, emerged from the forest with their spirits intact, their bonds stronger for having faced their inner demons. The third trial took them to a vast plain where the ground was cracked and dry. In the center of the plain stood a solitary tree its branches barren and lifeless. To proceed, they needed to restore the tree's vitality, a task that required a deep understanding of the crown's power. Finian, drawing on his knowledge of ancient spells, knelt beside the tree, his hands glowing with magic. "The crown's light is the key," he said, looking to Alden. "You must channel its energy into the tree to bring it back to life." Alden placed the crown on his head, feeling its power surge through him. He approached the tree, touching its trunk with one hand while focusing on the crown's light. The gems blazed, and a radiant energy flowed from Alden into the tree. Slowly, the branches began to bloom, leaves unfurling and flowers blossoming. The ground beneath the tree softened, and water bubbled up from the earth, nourishing the once barren plain. With the tree restored, a path opened before them, leading deeper into the shadow realm. The trials had tested their courage, their hearts, and their understanding of the light. Alden and his companions emerged stronger, their unity and resolve unshaken. The darkness grew thicker, but the light of the crown of eternal light guided them forward. The true battle lay ahead, and with each trial overcome, Alden felt more prepared to face Morgoth and his master. The light of Luminara's hope burned brightly within them, and they would see their quest through to the end. As Alden and his companions ventured deeper into the shadow realm, the atmosphere grew even more oppressive. The air was thick with a malevolent energy, and the darkness seemed almost tangible, pressing in on them from all sides. Yet, the light from the crown of eternal light continued to push back the shadows, a beacon of hope in an otherwise desolate land. The group moved cautiously, aware that danger lurked in every corner. The ground beneath their feet was cold and unforgiving, and the twisted trees that lined their path seemed to whisper sinister secrets. The realm of shadows was a place of despair, where hope had long been extinguished. They reached a clearing where the ground was scorched, and the remains of a great battle were scattered. Bones and shattered weapons lay in disarray, a grim reminder of those who had fought and fallen against the darkness. At the center of the clearing stood an ancient stone monument, its surface etched with runes that pulsed faintly with dark energy. Eldrick approached the monument, his eyes narrowing as he deciphered the runes. "This is a marker," he said, his voice filled with concern. "It speaks of an ancient evil imprisoned here long ago. The runes warn of a power that seeks to break free." Alden's grip tightened on the hilt of his sword. "Noctis," he said quietly, the name sending a shiver down his spine. "Morgoth's master. We must be close to his prison." Finian stepped forward, his hand glowing with magic as he examined the monument. "The magic here is old and powerful," he said. "We need to proceed with extreme caution." As they continued their journey, the darkness grew even more intense, and the very ground seemed to pulse with a malevolent rhythm. They reached a vast cavern, its entrance framed by jagged rocks that seemed to reach out like claws. The air inside was cold and still, and the shadows danced menacingly on the walls. "This must be it," Lyra whispered, her eyes scanning the darkness. "The heart of the shadow realm." Alden nodded, his resolve unwavering. "Stay close. We'll face whatever lies ahead together." They entered the cavern, the light from the crown illuminating their path. The shadows seemed to recoil from the light, but Alden could feel the oppressive weight of the darkness pressing down on him. As they ventured deeper, they came upon a vast chamber, its walls covered in ancient, dark symbols. In the center of the chamber stood a massive obsidian altar, and atop it a dark figure loomed. Morgoth, the shadow emissary, stood with his arms raised, chanting in an ancient, guttural language. The air crackled with dark energy, and the ground trembled as if in response to his incantations. "Morgoth!" Alden called out, his voice echoing through the chamber. "This ends now!" Morgoth turned, his eyes glowing with malevolent light. "Ah, the brave prince!" he sneered. "You've come to witness the rise of my master. You are too late. Noctis will be free, and your precious light will be extinguished." Alden stepped forward, the crown blazing with light. "We will stop you," he said, his voice filled with determination. "The light will always prevail over darkness." Morgoth laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You think your light can save you? You are but a flicker against the abyss." With the wave of his hand, Morgoth summoned dark, shadowy forms from the depths of the cavern. The creatures surged forward, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Alden and his companions readied their weapons, forming a defensive circle around the crown. The battle was fierce, the clash of light and shadow echoing through the chamber. Alden wielded the crown's power, beams of radiant light cutting through the darkness and vanquishing the shadowy forms. Lyra's arrows flew with unerring accuracy, striking down the creatures with deadly precision. Sir Baldwin's strength was unmatched, his sword cleaving through the darkness, while Finian's spells crackled with energy, repelling the attackers. Despite their efforts, the darkness seemed endless, and the strain of wielding the crown's power began to take its toll on Alden. He could feel his strength waning, the crown's demand for sacrifice pressing heavily on his soul. Eldric's voice rang out above the din of battle. "Alden, remember the light within you. It is not just the crown, but your heart that will save us." Drawing upon his inner strength, Alden channeled the crown's light with renewed vigor. A blinding radiance filled the chamber, pushing back the shadows and striking Morgoth with a force that sent him reeling. "You cannot win!" Morgoth hissed, his form flickering like a dying flame. "The darkness will consume all." With one final surge of energy, Alden unleashed the full power of the crown. The light erupted from him, filling every corner of the chamber with a brilliance that banished the darkness. Morgoth screamed, his form disintegrating into nothingness, and the cavern trembled as the ancient magic binding Noctis began to unravel. Breathing heavily, Alden removed the crown, the chamber now bathed in a soft golden light. The battle was won, but the true test lay ahead. They had to find a way to seal Noctis's prison forever and restore the light to Luminara. The path forward was clear, and with the crown of eternal light and their unyielding courage, they were ready to face the final trial. The light of Luminara's hope guided them, and they would see their quest through to the end. With Morgoth defeated, the cavern now glowed with a soft golden light emanating from the crown of eternal light. Alden and his companions took a moment to catch their breath, knowing that the true battle still lay ahead. The ancient prison of Noctis, the embodiment of darkness, awaited them, and the final confrontation was imminent. As they moved deeper into the cavern, the air grew colder and more oppressive. They could feel the malevolent presence of Noctis, a palpable force that seemed to drain the very light from the air. The path led them to a vast underground chamber, its walls lined with dark, pulsating veins of shadowy energy. At the center stood an enormous obsidian obelisk, its surface etched with ancient runes that glowed with a sinister light. Eldrick approached the obelisk cautiously, his eyes scanning the runes. "This is it," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The prison of Noctis. We must act quickly to prevent his release." Alden stepped forward, the crown's light illuminating the chamber. "How do we seal it?" he asked, his gaze fixed on the dark obelisk. Eldrick studied the runes carefully. "The crown's light can seal the prison, but it will require a great sacrifice. You must channel all of your strength and the crown's power to reinforce the ancient binding spell." Alden nodded, his resolve unwavering. "I will do whatever it takes to save our kingdom." As he placed the crown on his head, a surge of energy coursed through him, filling him with a radiant warmth. The crown's light grew brighter, and Alden raised his hands, directing the energy toward the obelisk. The runes on its surface began to glow, responding to the crown's power. But as the light intensified, the shadows in the chamber started to swirl, coalescing into a dark, towering figure. Noctis, the ancient evil, had sensed the threat to his prison and now sought to stop them. His form was a mass of writhing shadows, eyes like burning coals fixed on Alden with malevolent intent. "You dare challenge me?" Noctis's voice echoed through the chamber, a chilling sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You are but a flicker against the eternal darkness." Alden felt a shiver run down his spine, but he stood firm. "The light will always prevail over darkness," he declared, his voice strong and clear. "I will not let you escape." Noctis laughed, a sound that sent shivers down their spines. "We shall see, little prince." With a wave of his hand, Noctis summoned a torrent of shadows that surged toward Alden and his companions. The chamber erupted into chaos as the darkness clashed with the crown's light. Lyra's arrows flew with deadly precision, striking at the heart of the shadowy forms. Sir Baldwin's sword flashed in the golden light, cutting through the darkness with powerful, sweeping strikes. Finian's spells crackled with energy, forming protective barriers and striking at Noctis's minions. Alden focused all his energy on the obelisk, channeling the crown's power. The light grew blindingly bright, pushing back the shadows and causing the runes to glow with renewed intensity. But the effort was immense, and Alden could feel his strength waning. Eldric's voice rang out above the din of battle. "Alden, hold on, we're with you." Drawing upon the strength of his companions and the hope of his kingdom, Alden pushed himself to the limit. The crown's light surged, enveloping the obelisk and sealing the ancient runes with a brilliant flash. Noctis roared in fury as the light overwhelmed him, his form dissipating into the shadows. With one final desperate effort, Alden released a wave of light that filled the entire chamber. The darkness recoiled, and Noctis's form was torn apart, banished back into the depths of his prison. The obelisk glowed brightly, the ancient binding spell reinforced and unbreakable. As the light faded, the chamber fell silent. Alden collapsed to his knees, exhausted but triumphant. The crown of eternal light slipped from his head, its glow dimming as it settled on the ground. Eldric rushed to his side, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You did it, Alden. The prison is sealed, and Noctis is defeated." Alden nodded weakly, a sense of relief washing over him. "We did it. Together." His companions gathered around him, their faces reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, their bond stronger than ever. With the Shadow Realm's threat vanquished, they began their journey back to Luminara. The road ahead was still long, but the light of hope burned brightly within them. Alden knew that the sacrifices they had made were worth it, for they had restored the light to their kingdom and ensured a future free from the shadows. As they emerged from the cavern, the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, bathing the land in a warm, golden light. Luminara's future was bright, and with the crown of eternal light, Alden and his companions had secured a lasting peace. The battle had been won, but their journey would continue, guided by the light of hope and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The journey back to Luminara was bittersweet. Alden and his companions had triumphed over the darkness, but the toll of their victory weighed heavily on them. The crown of eternal light, now a symbol of their struggle and hope, rested in Alden's satchel, its glow a constant reminder of the power it held and the sacrifices it demanded. As they approached the capital, the once dim skies began to clear, revealing the brilliant blue that had been hidden for so long. The people of Luminara, sensing the change, gathered at the city gates, their faces filled with a mixture of curiosity and hope. Word of the prince's return spread quickly, and soon the streets were lined with cheering citizens, eager to welcome their hero home. King Theron stood at the palace entrance, his eyes filled with pride and relief as he saw his son approach. Alden dismounted his horse and embraced his father, feeling the weight of his journey lift slightly. "Father, we have sealed Noctis's prison and defeated Morgoth," Alden said, his voice steady but weary. "The darkness will not threaten Luminara again." King Theron's eyes shone with gratitude. "You have done well, my son. You and your companions have brought hope back to our kingdom." As they made their way to the great hall, Eldric stepped forward, his expression serious. "There is one final matter we must address. The crown of eternal light has served its purpose, but its power remains a double-edged sword. It must be safeguarded to ensure it does not fall into the wrong hands." Alden nodded, understanding the gravity of Eldric's words. "What must be done?" Eldric led them to the heart of the palace, where a sacred chamber awaited. Inside, a pedestal stood in the center of the room, surrounded by ancient runes, similar to those they had encountered in the Shadow Realm. The chamber was designed to contain powerful artifacts, shielding their magic from the outside world. "The crown must be placed here," Eldric explained. "Its light will protect Luminara, but it will also require a guardian. Someone who will ensure its power is not misused." Alden felt a pang of realization. "I will be that guardian," he said, his voice firm. "The crown chose me, and I will ensure its power is used only for good." Eldric's eyes softened with respect. "You have a noble heart, Alden. But know that this role will come with great responsibility and sacrifice." Alden approached the pedestal, the crown's light growing brighter as he drew near. He placed it gently on the pedestal, feeling a surge of energy course through him. The runes around the chamber glowed in response, creating a protective barrier that shimmered with radiant light. As the crown settled, Alden felt a deep connection to its power, a bond that transcended mere possession. He understood that his duty as the crown's guardian was not just to protect it, but to embody the light it represented. Lyra, Finian, and Sir Baldwin watched in silence, their expressions filled with admiration and respect. They had fought alongside Alden, shared in his triumphs and trials, and now stood witness to his ultimate sacrifice. King Theron placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "You have made us all proud, Alden. Your bravery and selflessness will be remembered for generations to come." Alden bowed his head, feeling the weight of his duty settle upon him. "I will protect Luminara with all my heart. The light will always guide us." With the crown safely secured, Alden took his place as its guardian, ensuring that its power would be a beacon of hope for all of Luminara. The kingdom flourished under his watchful eye, the darkness banished and the light restored. Years passed, and stories of the brave prince and his companions became legends, told around hearths and in the halls of the palace. The crown of eternal light remained a symbol of their enduring hope and strength, a reminder that even in the darkest times, the light of courage and love could prevail. As Alden stood watch over his beloved kingdom, he knew that his sacrifice had been worth it. The light of Luminara shone brightly, a testament to the power of unity and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The crown's legacy lived on, not just in the artifact itself, but in the hearts of all who believed in the light. As the years passed, Luminara flourished under the guardianship of Prince Alden and the enduring light of the crown of eternal light. The kingdom, once shrouded in darkness, was now a beacon of prosperity and hope. The people lived in harmony, their lives touched by the light that Alden had vowed to protect. One crisp morning, as the sun cast its golden rays over the palace, Alden stood on the balcony overlooking the bustling city. The air was filled with the sounds of laughter and joy, a testament to the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. Eldrick approached, his steps slow but steady, his eyes filled with wisdom and pride. "Alden," Eldrick began, his voice soft yet strong, "it is time to share the tale of your journey and the crown's power with the next generation. The light must be passed on, and its story remembered." Alden nodded, understanding the importance of Eldrick's words. "You're right, Eldrick. The legacy of the crown must endure, and the lessons we've learned must be passed down." A grand gathering was arranged in the heart of the city, where citizens from all corners of Luminara came together to hear the story of the crown of eternal light. The great hall was adorned with banners and flowers, the atmosphere filled with anticipation and reverence. As the crowd settled, Alden stepped forward, his presence commanding yet humble. He began to recount their journey, the trials they had faced, and the ultimate sacrifice that had ensured their victory over the darkness. The people listened in rapt attention, their faces reflecting a mixture of awe and gratitude. "The crown," Alden said, holding it up for all to see, "is a symbol of our hope, our courage, and our unity. It is a reminder that even in the darkest times, we can find the strength to overcome any challenge. Its power is not just in its light, but in the hearts of those who believe in its purpose." As he spoke, the crown's light filled the hall, casting a warm golden glow over the assembly. The people of Luminara, young and old, felt a deep connection to the story and the sacrifices that had been made to secure their future. After the gathering, Alden returned to the sacred chamber where the crown was kept. He placed it back on its pedestal, the runes around the chamber glowing softly in response. Eldrick joined him, a look of contentment on his face. "You have done well, Alden," Eldrick said. "The light of the crown will continue to guide Luminara for generations to come. Your legacy, and that of your companions, will be remembered forever." Alden turned to Eldrick, gratitude and respect in his eyes. "Thank you, Eldrick, for your guidance and wisdom. We could not have achieved this without you." As the seasons changed and the years continued to pass, Luminara remained a land of light and prosperity. The people honored the legacy of Prince Alden and the crown of eternal light, ensuring that its story was never forgotten. In time, Alden's role as guardian of the crown was passed on to a new generation, one that was equally dedicated to protecting the light and the values it represented. The sacred chamber became a place of pilgrimage, where citizens came to reflect on the sacrifices made and draw inspiration from the crown's enduring glow. The tale of Alden and his companions became a cherished legend, a story of hope, courage, and the triumph of light over darkness. It was told around hearths, in schools, and in the halls of the palace, each retelling a reminder of the power of unity and the strength of the human spirit. And so the light of Luminara shone brightly, a testament to the enduring legacy of the crown of eternal light, and the brave souls who had fought to protect it. The kingdom thrived, its people living in harmony and peace, guided by the light that would never fade.